Today I'm going to show you how to make our stuffy projects. I am making one project today, but the stitches and the process for this one will be the same for both. So first we have our felt with our pattern drawn on. I've pinned it 2 pieces together so that they'll stay together while I'm cutting. We're just going to cut just around the pattern line. So we've cut out our pattern. We also need a strip, just one strip. Doesn't have to be too wide. About 3 or 4 inches long. And that's going to be our loop for our key ring. All right, to start, we are going to take the part that we've drawn on, the face of it, we're going to put the bottom part down. So technically what we've drawn on is going to be on the inside of our stuffy. So we're going to flip it over. This will be the outside, okay? We're going to sew the buttons and the nose, the eyes, which will be buttons, and the nose on first. So I've got my needle threaded already. You can choose any color you want. I'm using this so that you can see it easier, okay? All right, so we do have marks back here, so I'm going to go through the first eye hole mark from the back, pull that through. All right, take my button, do there. All right, I'm going to do a very simple cross on this. Right through one and then back through the other one. All right. And we'll knot that off in the back. If you can't knot it off the way I'm doing, that's fine. Just leave a little extra of a tail at the end and knot it off like you normally would. All right, that and that, okay. And I can leave these little tails here. It won't matter because it's going to be on the inside. Okay, so both of my eyes are done. So now we're going to do the nose. And again, because this is felt, it sticks on here really well, so we don't have to worry about that. I'm going to flip it back over to the back to where I've got my mark, put the needle through. All right, so then what I'm going to do is, see how I've got my little felt nose lined up with it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it through. I'm going to hold on to the nose. And then I am just going to go just over the edge of the nose. And watch your fingers doing this, okay? Push it through. All right, so it's right in the middle. This is basically a whip stitch. We're going around the edges. So from the back, again, you try to get as close as you can. Go over just a little bit. Okay. And we're just going to do that all the way around the nose, okay? Okay, so we finished doing a whip stitch around the nose. And I know that 100% this looks like a mouth because of the colors I chose. But again, doing it because I want you to see it. We can choose other colors for our projects. And I'm going to add some whiskers. So again, got my needle threaded. We'll come up beside the nose, pull up through, and then I'm going to just make a knot right there, as close to the fabric as you can get, okay? And I'm going to give it a couple inches, maybe just an inch, inch and a half. I'm gonna cut it, okay? All right, and then I'm just gonna separate these threads. And it might take a little time to tease them out, but that's all you're doing. So I finished my whiskers, I've got my nose and my eyes. Okay, so again, we're gonna do the same thing. This is going to be the outside, which means we have to turn it inside to sew it. Okay, we're gonna put it back on top of its second piece, make sure it lines up really well. We're gonna take our little strip, okay, and we are going to fold that top down. We're gonna put this little strip with a good amount sticking out right in the center between the ears, okay? So we're gonna sew all of that into place. So we are going to start over on this side, and we're gonna go a little bit above the edge. If you need to make an outline inside of the pattern, you can totally do that and do that before you cut it out. We're just gonna do it by eye. With practice, it makes it a lot easier to do it without the extra line, but then again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not meant to be. So we've gone from the back and come out the top, pulled it all the way through. Then we're gonna go around the edge, back to the back again, and as close as you can get to that last one, pull it up, okay? And that is a whip stitch. I'm gonna go ahead and stitch my tail into it as we go. It just keeps it out of the way, okay? You want them to be about the same width apart, especially if you're not doing them super, super close. This is another thing too, where after you've done this, if you feel like you need to go back in to fill in gaps, you totally can. Okay. All right, so you just keep doing that all the way around. We finished going all the way around. We've left the bottom open because that's how we're going to turn it inside out and how we're going to stuff it. Okay, so now we pulled the pin out. Make sure if you have any pins in it that you pull those out before you do this. We're going to turn it inside out. So we're going to carefully, just like a sock, kind of roll it out. Oops. The best thing to use is a pencil or a pen. So it won't matter if marks get in there because it's the inside. So just kind of very gently, like where you know the ear is supposed to be, just kind of poke at it until you can get all of that out. So we have successfully turned it inside out, got the ears out, little tab, and again, you can see the yarn. That's because I used yarn that you can see. If it's the same color as your fabric, you're really not going to see it, okay? So now that we've got turned inside out, we're going to stuff it with some polyfill. So I always take smaller bits first, okay? And kind of push them towards the top. And then take your pencil or your pen or whatever you have and use the blunt end of it to push stuffing into the smaller parts, which on this one is the ears. All right, so my ears are full. And then another little stuff of fluff. And let's see. And you don't want to overstuff it. You just want it to be even. You don't want it to be lumpy. So that's why we do small pieces at a time. So we got them nice and stuffed. Threaded our needle again, okay? And take the fluff and kind of push it as far down into the top part as you can, just to keep it out of the way so it doesn't get caught in your stitches, okay? We can smush it back into place after we're done. So we're gonna take the bottom part and close it, and you can use a pin if you need to. Let's see, you can do that. Hold it together. remember if you're using pins, watch your fingers. All right, so now it's a little different, but we're basically gonna do the same thing, except we're gonna do it on the outside. So from the inside of this one side, go through kind of that last little edge of stitch. There's a lot of fabric there and thread, so it might take a moment to really work your needle through. Okay, you want to do it basically at the bottom of that stitch that you first did. Okay, now this puts the tail of it on the inside, which is what we want. Go down there. All right, now we're still holding it together, and we're basically just going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to go around. We're going to make our stitches as even as possible. You want to make sure you pull them snug. Basically the last stitch to close it. And go through, pull it good and snug, and go over and try to do it in the same hole again, or as close to it as you can. It doesn't have to be exact. As close to it. All right. Same thing, we're going to go through that loop, pull it real tight, go back through the back, as close as you can. Again, it's a lot of fabric, a lot of thread, might take a bit to get your needle through. Okay, catch that loop, pull it tight, and then this is a little more difficult, but it keeps the tail in. So what you want to do is run it kind of in between. You're wanting it to be inside. You want it inside, okay? So run it to about, it doesn't have to be huge all the way back, but you know, about like that. That's several stitches in, okay? So that's several stitches in. I'm going to kind of smoosh my fabric up, pull the needle through, okay, and pull it a little tighter. See how it's kind of pulling in on itself? Okay, hold it still as you can and cut it, because you've already knotted it on the other side. Cut it right there, and then give it a little tug like that, and it takes that little bit of tail inside, so you have a neater hem. All right, now we're gonna smushy, smushy, smushy all this fluff back into place. Smushy, smushy. All right, and then we have key ring. Okay, put the key ring through your loop. Okay, spin that around. All right, and you can add all sorts of stuff to this, or you can take things off. You don't have to have whiskers. You can use just even Sharpie marker for the eyes and the nose and whatnot. But this is how we make our little keychain stuffie. There you go.